we might as well start casting, even though we've been casting for a skinny second. We've been live. Okay, so now we know this is actually not take two, because I'm going to keep going with this because I like where you're going. Because what I wanted to talk to you about today was weed, and you brought it up naturally. Right. So here we go. Because our comments on the last time we were together, and that was a kid ago for you, and a dog. Yeah. No, not a dog ago. You had the dog. The dog was on board. New dog, but child was coming.
Yeah, we've got new house, new kid, new dog problems. Like now they're into chewing, and that's a different problem.
Okay.
But still same dog.
All right.
Yeah, new house now, actually. So.
Excellent. All right, you're still, but in the East Valley area?
Yeah,
then?
We're North Mesa now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you went from where you were in Tempe to North Mesa. Okay. Welcome.
Thanks.
That's hometown for me, not north. I was southeast Mesa, so.
I know, I'm just making my way back to AJ. That's all.
It just feels like you're incrementally getting back to home. We just talked about that, where it was a luxury to get stoned, and that just was frowned upon because you couldn't afford it.
Yeah, you couldn't get anything. And if you were like, oh, what's Adderall? Like, we don't do Adderall. We can't. We have a doctor? What? Like,
right.
What
do you mean you all had braces? Right? I mean, that was the sign of wealth when I was growing up, like the kids that got braces.
Yeah.
And they didn't get braces when they were in junior high. You got braces when you were in high school. And it was like, and I never had braces. I got lucky, but at the end of the day, that was like a big sign of wealth. But I'm going to go back to weed again. We're going to talk about weed because I loved a lot of our comments when we were rolling about weed. We got onto the marijuana subject.
Yeah. And it's still huge. Every day it's huge.
And so I just started gathering some thoughts because all these folks are thinking these two goody two-shoes are talking about, we had a ton of comments about all the brilliant geniuses out there that are smoking reefer 28 times in the morning, dropping it every which way they can. They got the gummies now, and they've got their lozengers now, and they've got all sorts of different pens and waxes and...
Oh, and how to consume it.
Oh, man, they can consume it every which way, but they're rolling a blunt. It's old school, man.
Yeah.
And today's weed is not your grandpa's weed.
No, of course not.
Today's weed is very much, a lot more potent.
Yes.
Let's call it that way. So anyway, when we got all these comments, I mean, it was great to get all these comments for these two fellas. You and I viewed to have zero knowledge about weed. Well, let's just say I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Because what office are they going to when they get in trouble because of this said weed?
Yeah.
Now, I started comparing it because marijuana's been legal here in Arizona for, 4 or 5 years?
Yeah.
A handful of years now. I don't know the exact date, but so it's recreational use for us as far as its legality.
08 medical.
08 was medical, right?
08 medical.
But that rolled for about a decade.
Yeah.
And then it became recreational at some point in the last handful of years.
Yeah.
So now you can buy weed and utilize that recreationally. Okay. Well, I compare it to alcohol, but I don't smell my clients coming in all the time, very rarely, smelling like a bottle of Jack. Sometimes,
Yeah.
Sometimes we get that client.
The lingering from last night.
Sometimes you've got that musty, but very rare. But all the time, I've got the smell of the reefer.
Yes, it's really loud.
It is a very loud smell. I like that. And so, and it's just like, are you just climbing through every day of your life utilizing marijuana whenever, every few hours or however often they use it? And do they not know that this is an altering substance wherein they are impaired? And so they're operating heavy machinery. I'm seeing a lot of things. They're, at work and or they're driving a car, or they're doing this, or they're doing that. And I get all these know-it-alls that weed's been around forever and this, that, and the other. Well, you know what? So is alcohol. Alcohol's been around, when did Adam leave the garden? Somewhere around that time. Okay? So it's safe to say that cannabis came after the alcohol thing, and we're a little bit more educated when it comes to alcohol, and it still is the number one killer of any drug in the United States or in the world. I believe it is. But
unless you go pharmaceuticals, but
Right.
We're not going that direction.
No, we're not going that direction just yet. I don't think at all today. But anyway, we're going to go.
Yeah, and even right out the gate, to put this to rest, I mean, marijuana is 100% safer than alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, it is an undisputed fact, right? The fact
So
that
people can hear what he just said. Say it loud.
Just undisputed fact, not even as a scientist, but as a lawyer here, 100% safer than alcohol, but still a crime, or was for years and years and years.
Yep.
Now, even the safest drug, let's say Tylenol, you take it, I'm in pain, I got a headache, Tylenol. If that impacts or impairs your ability to drive a car,
It's a DUI.
it's a DUI. And so there's this balancing act that the law has here that we deal with in the legal industry, and part of what we learn in law school of how society develops, and every law is kind of created because there was a problem and all of this,
Yeah.
and they never take laws off the books, and they just create other ones and all of that, and basically
They do seem to multiply.
they the book only gets bigger every
Yes.
year. Let's put it that
Yep.
way. Bigger and more expensive, but a lot of knowledge in there. I didn't even bring the book today, but
I know I'm missing it.
yeah,
I'm missing it.
It's all up here today, and
Nice.
marijuana just has fallen into, of course, the category, just like all kinds of other drugs, and
Right.
Potentially mind, mood, body, substance, altering substance.
Right.
And so there's always the argument of, marijuana should totally be taken off and illegal. And it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen.
Right.
But across the board, we can always say, yes, it is 100% safer, better to consume, smoke, ingest, consume, through
However,
edibles.
Right.
Yeah, put that oil on that head, get it
Right.
into you, I guess. Then alcohol, right? And
Well,
the
to me,
popularity is way bigger these days
Right.
for
And
marijuana.
so to
than
me, I don't
alcohol.
understand why I'm seeing it very often, very, very often. And you, Zach, Future First, I mean, you're seeing it as often as I'm seeing it. I mean, we're seeing a lot of loose and fast with the marijuana.
Yeah.
And so marijuana, not very long ago in my career, the majority of my career has been it being illegal. Even if they have a card when they're driving, the worst thing you could show police officers your bloody marijuana card back when it was, medicinally legal.
Yeah.
That's the last thing you want to show a cop.
Because now they're going to be like, well, great.
Let's go ahead and search that car now.
We know it's in here.
Right, and we know where else it's in. It's just rolling around in your blood.
Yeah.
And so, unlike alcohol, marijuana is in your blood for a long period of time. And so that also produces some kittywampus work for us to do, because it's a lot. Is there a metabolite? Is there not? Is there an active metabolite?
Yeah.
Because, the THC is going to be rolling around there. Is it carboxy? Is it what? Blah, 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 blah. I mean, we know all these little terms. And the people out here listening to us know the terms and think they know everything better than we do. But what I wanted to talk about is treat it like alcohol, as though, okay, when somebody goes out and starts to tie one on or starts to drink, we, it's pretty accepted in our culture to do so responsibly. It's frowned upon to drink and drive. I mean, it's what you call it, a 5-second mistake.
Yeah, 5-minute mistake.
5-minute mistake. It's a mistake, and it's one that unfortunately pretty much anybody that's ever drank probably has made this particular mistake. I don't want to generalize too much, but I would put some decent money on a good percentage of those that have, drink alcohol have driven impaired, and just whether or not you got caught.
Yeah, there's I think the statistic is something like, it's like 85 or 90 times that you drink and drive before you get caught.
That's interesting.
And it's like an average.
How do you find that out?
The National Highway of Traffic Safety Administration, I believe they are the ones who did the study saying that, which whether that makes it official or not official or anything like this. And for listeners really quick, that does not mean that you're going to get away with it 80 plus times before you get it. You could obviously get your DUI the first time, but most people kind of And I think the part that it emphasizes is that, yeah, people aren't usually getting like super hammered the very first time they go out and drink or drive, because it's wrong. You shouldn't do it.
Right.
But then it turns into,
Builds up.
I've only had like one, and then, that's like the first 10 times that you drink and drive. It's like you only had one. And then the second, from number 11
you're creating
to 20,
a habit.
You're like, oh, well, yeah, actually, I was really good with just one beer, but I could probably do 2 beers. And then your confidence goes up, and now you're in your 30s of times you've done it. And you're like, yeah, well, hey, I mean, look, 2 beers and a shot. Like, I could probably still drive safely.
Yeah. Or I'm just going across the street.
So it builds and builds and builds and builds to people's confidence level. And again, some people get away with it for their entire lives and never ever get in trouble. And of course they have that, whether lucky bone or whatever it is. And then there's the other people who, like, literally their first time drinking and driving will get popped.
Right.
And obviously DUIs are the worst when it comes to the fact that they can kill someone, the fact that you can kill yourself, the fact that there are innocent bystanders in other vehicles, right? And that's why DUIs are so bad. Right. It's not truly the drinking and driving on a road with no one else on the road that's bad, right? Of course, if nobody else is on the road,
we probably might not have that law yet.
Yeah. But the issue is so many people, you run red lights on accidents and you cause accidents and you kill innocent people. And that's why things get really bad. Right. Which, of course, if you kill someone, it's now manslaughter. It's not even a DUI anymore. Right. It really raises to the level. So they basically try and teach people that early on by creating these laws and say, hey, let's not get them to number 85 or whatever. Right. And, in the context of marijuana, I know that the marijuana community feels very strongly to never compare it to alcohol. It's different. And yes, it totally is. But as us lawyers, it's easier for us to explain to the whole public, the whole, marijuana community, the alcohol community, that if you think about marijuana in the terms of the law, in the terms of drinking and driving, smoking and driving, think of it like alcohol in the sense that it is illegal. If it is in your system, if you are caught, it is a DUI. Mm-hmm. And in fact, it's, to some degree kind of easier to get a marijuana DUI than an alcohol DUI. Right. In alcohol DUIs, we have levels, right? Because DUIs for alcohol have been around for so many years. Mm-hmm. All these studies have come out, and we have, these
0.08.
We have these amazing devices that can test how much alcohol is in your system based on alcohol consumption. Right.
You can buy them at Costco.
Draws, all of that.
You test yourself.
Exactly. And, whole arguments as to whether that is, truly accurate and all of this stuff. But the technology is not there yet for marijuana. And we are so new age with marijuana DUIs. The technology's gonna catch up.
At some point.
They are going to very quickly be able to be like, great, watch this. Cheek swab, test, shake, tells us the level. Like,
but we're not there yet.
That's around the corner. There is something around the corner.
So all of you judges that are judging me and my clean cut friend here that we don't know anything because we don't have the right tattoo or we don't have the right haircut. It's not that. It's that we get to see this and we're trying to help people. Yeah. To kind of, okay, look, you need to treat it like alcohol, not because it is like alcohol. I agree with you. It is, in my opinion, safer than alcohol. Mm-hmm. It's but it is an impairing agent. Yeah. And frankly, if you smell like it, the officer's going to smell it because likely the officer didn't, isn't around it all the time, but they approach the vehicle and
people are smart about this. And so people know that. And so they will, eye drops, cologne, perfume, which is great and brilliant. Except sometimes the officers are, not born last night, and they're like, well, that's weird. I see, and it smells like I smell marijuana, but I don't really smell marijuana because I smell the cologne, I smell the perfume.
I smell a whole lot of old spice.
So then they write in their report, it appears that they are masking the smell of marijuana. So it's just a whole can of worms that goes deeper and deeper.
And it makes you kind of look worse a little bit.
Yeah. And some degree it's unintentional. Like someone could just be chewing gum, and the officer's like, yeah, they're chewing gum, so they must be trying to cover up the smell of alcohol, the smell of marijuana.
I can see the Visine. I can see the half empty bottle of Drakkar. That just aged me right there. And I'm not convinced.
Yeah. He's talking really slow. And this is when things get a little racial. And, we see that really, really commonly, even here in Arizona, even on the east side, right? Where certain populations, certain ways that people talk especially to officers, if they think, oh, wow, this girl's talking a little funny, you know, maybe they have an accent, maybe they just, you know, on the streets, they talk differently. And the officer now goes, yeah, I think this is lethargic talking.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of weird stuff.
They're really slowing down. They're talking, and like it's like, well, maybe that's the effect of alcohol or the effect of marijuana, or maybe that's just the way they talk. But again, the officer, anything you say, can, and do will be used against you, and they're going to be like, yeah, this guy was talking very lethargic-y. Yeah, she was talking really slow. Like, and they're going to say that was due to the marijuana.
Right. And so you end up with a decision whether or not they're going to take your blood or not, so on and so forth. And if you say no, then all of a sudden your license is suspended for a year. If you say, go ahead, because they're going to get it anyway.
Yeah.
And so
they're going to hold you down. They're going to get the warrant in under 20 minutes from the on-call judge, no matter what time of day, weekend,
they're going to get it.
Yep, they get a warrant. Then they can draw your blood by law here in Arizona. Whether they hold you down in a straitjacket and rip your arm out and get all your veins, they're going to do it.
Yeah. And they may roll on you 57 different times, and if they get frustrated enough, they'll just haul you over to the hospital and get it there.
Yeah.
It can become quite the to-do, as we've seen. But they're going to get it. And that's what I tell folks, cooperate with law enforcement because they're going to get it anyway. If you're in that position we're in, they're saying, can we take your blood? They're going to take your blood.
Yeah, absolutely.
By hook or crook, they will take your bloody blood.
And very important, especially to clarify here, for us in our law degrees and the things that we learn and the hundreds of thousands of dollars it took us to become a lawyer to give legal advice, is comply with the police in certain circumstances, right? And what does compliance mean, okay? Well, there are legal requests and things that you should do and have to do, and there's a little bit of a difference there. And whenever you are pulled over, we kind of have a golden rule. We tell each of our clients, of course, it's a little too late, but maybe they don't get a second, third. They share it with their friends, family, coworkers. We say, hey, look, this is the golden rule. If the officer asks you to step out of the vehicle, you are going to get arrested, okay? 99% of the time, the officer already believes they have probable cause to even ask you to get out of the car. Think about it. If they were just going to give you a ticket for speeding or whatever.
You're sitting there the whole time.
You're just going to stay in the car. They're not going to ask you to get out. The reason they're asking you to get out is because they're now trying to look for more evidence against you, signs and symptoms of impairment. So this is why they start asking people to do all these field sobriety tests. Hey, follow my finger, walk a straight line, touch your finger to your nose. And they try and get you to admit, that you were drinking or that you were smoking. They even say, blow into this handheld breathalyzer. Well, guess what? Everything that I just said there, you do not have to do.
That's right.
That might be a lawful command. The officer is allowed to ask you to do those things, but they are all voluntary tasks, voluntary field sobriety tests. And so you do not have to do them, and you should not do them. And so when we say comply with the police, and that basically means, yes, you have to give your insurance, your registration, your license, and yes, you do have to get out of the car. But the moment you get out of the car, you say, hey, officer, this seems like it's getting serious. I want a lawyer, and I don't want to do anything else. And the important part about this legal advice is you have now said no to any of these field sobriety tests, and you have already triggered your right to have a lawyer. And guess what? You don't have to actually call a lawyer. A lawyer doesn't have to show up. You just have to say the magic words, I want a lawyer, and I don't want to do anything else. And now the officer's put between...
And you don't have to say it rudely either. You can say it just like you said it.
Please don't spit on the officer, give him the double birds, and say, I don't have to do anything. You can't make...
Even one bird. Double bird,
no
one
singles,
bird.
No doubles. You just nicely put your hands up so you don't think you got a gun or anything. You just say, hey, look, this seems like it's getting serious.
Yep.
They asked you to get out of the car. Shit, it's about to go down.
It just got
It's about to go down.
Yep,
they just asked you to get out of the car.
Yep.
And the officer's going to be friendly with you. They're like, hey, look, I'm just trying to make sure you're safe to drive. Look, hey, this is just part of my job. Hey, look, I know you're coming from the bar. It's okay. Like, they're going to try and be your best friend. Right. And that's why they ask you to nicely get out and all this. And you just nicely respond and say, hey, I'm out.
Looks like it's just getting deep here.
This is, want
a lawyer.
By the way, I'd like to have a lawyer, and I don't want to do anything else without a lawyer. And you just nicely say that. And again, the police are going to kind of try and trick you up a little bit. They'll be like, well, hey, look, I just want to test your eyes real quick. Are you sure? And again, you got to kind of be a little firm with them, and you got to say,
I'm sure.
I want a lawyer, and I don't want to do anything else. Because if you then
what do you
change
tell
your
them
mind,
once they get
don't
right?
do that.
Then once they get, so they follow your advice. Once they get, now they're they're on a straight train to a needle.
Well, this is the hard part now that the officer has to do. Okay, and this is where, oh my God, I love my fans online,
right?
Because I get a lot of officers in my comments that say, no, we don't have to do this, and then every now and again we get officers that are like, actually, yeah, that's exactly what happens.
Right?
Is now the officers put between a rock and a hard spot where they say, wow, this person didn't do any of the field sobriety tests, has not admitted to consuming any alcohol, any drugs. And now I, as the officer, have to either arrest this person and take them to the station based on only what they found out from within the vehicle. The eyes are bloodshot and watery. Your speech is a little slurred, right? The police, again, are still going to arrest you 99% of the time, even if you invoke your right, even if you don't do field sobriety tests, they are going to arrest you.
But that part
But now the evidence of impairment is all gone, other than like what they can maybe visually see and or smell.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? You didn't do any of these field sobriety tests. You're not required to do any of them. Mm-hmm. Okay, you don't lose your license or anything like that if you say no.
It's like that judge in Yavapai that got put through him not very long ago, and she goes, "Oh, the field sobriety test bullshit anyway."
They are all
and
nonsense.
it's all on a body cam, and it's like a judge that sees it all day long. You know what I mean?
Yes. And look, think about it. I mean, look, they're allowed tests. They're allowed by law. You can go to trial, and they can still be introduced. There's studies that say that they're valid. This whole can of worms that but think about it, the officer's the judge of whether you did well on these or not. It's not like that you can actually pass them. Even if
they don't bring a panel in.
Even if you're sober, you can fail these tests. They're just multitasking tests. The theory is essentially that while you're driving, you have to have your hands on the wheel, you have to be able to visually see, turn your head, and you have to have your feet on the pedals. So you're basically doing three things at the same time. Right. So that's the theory of some of these tests, is that while you were walking a straight line, heel to toe, with your hands by your side, looking down, then doing it, is that if you can do that, you can drive. Mm-hmm. But again, people just might be bad at balancing and have bad coordination. Like, it means that they're not a bad driver or anything like that. It means that alcohol, the marijuana had nothing to do with how they did on the test.
I don't think my mom's had any of those two things in her life, and she can't drive.
Yeah, like when you go and get your license, they should make you do a field sobriety test first and be like, how did you do on that? And be like, all right, officer, this is their standard. If they do worse than this, then they must be under the influence.
I totally agree. That's hilarious. What we have is we have a lot of folks that are going loose and fast with marijuana. And I like the way that you're setting this up and that you're teaching and coaching, because hopefully your coaching goes to whomever else, and whomever else. Because, they don't have to do any of those things. They are not mandatory. There's no, even though there's a gun around, there's no gun to their head.
Yeah, no, they can't force you to do it. Now, the police can say it's required by law, and by law it is required, but nobody can force you to actually do the field sobriety test.
So you can decline that, kindly decline, not the double bird or single. And yes, 99% of the time you're a one-way street away from.
You're still going to go taken to the station.
Yep, the station where they're going to want to yank your blood. And I strongly recommend give them your bloody blood.
Yes, 100%. That is great. And I love that advice, because guess what? When you get to the DUI van, when you get to the police station, you know what they're going to do? They're going to read you a warning. An actual real warning by law that has to be read to you that says something along the lines of, hey, I now want to draw your blood or get a breathalyzer device out of the big breathalyzer, not the handheld one. Again, you can say no to the handheld, but the big one, they say, I want your blood, breath, or urine. And if you do not give it to me, then I will suspend your license for 12 months. Will you give it to me, yes or no? Right. You say yes 100% of the time.
Which is what I tell folks. And you know what? The funny thing is come to find out, we're ballsy. Come to find out, we got nuts to tell people this, because there's a ton of other lawyer dirtbags out there, no offense to all of them, but that don't tell them. They say, hey, no.
Just say no to everything.
No to everything.
Like,
no.
Whoa.
They're going to get your bloody blood every time.
And like, you just save yourself by saying yes to the blood, because even if, let's say they hold you down, they get your blood, well, now you're facing a 12-month suspension just for saying no.
Right.
Whether there's anything in your system or not.
Right.
That's the craziest part about this
Right.
law.
It comes
the law
back
just
clean.
says if you say
Right.
no to that test, 12 months.
Right.
It
If
doesn't
comes
matter
back-
if there's anything
right.
in your blood or
Comes
not.
back
You can
clean,
be 100%
you're
sober.
still hosed for 12 months.
Yeah, but if, even if you say yes, take my blood, well then great, you're facing a 3-month suspension. Okay, so and that's where lawyers are like, oh yeah, say no and all this, and people are like, well, why would I do this and all that? And it's like, great. You're facing 2 different types of license suspensions.
Right.
We who do this every day know that. And again, there's a way better chance that we can.
Can you
actually
say that
beat this.
again? We who do this every day. Can you say that just
We
a few?
who do this every day know better. We know the business.
In this regard, we're trying to
We
help
know the
you. This is a
business.
public service, man.
Yes. Yeah, and look, guess what? When they go and they ask you to do the field sobriety test, when they say, hey, follow my finger real quick, blow into the little handheld breathalyzer, they don't read you the warning.
Right.
They just
There's no warning there.
There's no warning because it's
Here, follow my
you
finger.
don't lose anything
Right.
if you say no.
No, I'd like a
Nothing
lawyer.
bad happens.
No, I'd like a lawyer. And just be cool.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a jackhole. I keep getting a lot of folks that want to be a jackhole about it. And it's like, no, don't do that either.
Yeah.
Just like a lawyer, just calm down.
And
just
again,
call it good. You said it best. When you're out of the car, when you're asked to come out of the car, your host, right there, right then.
The game has changed.
The game just changed. Flags are up.
Yeah.
You are now going to be arrested most of 99.9% of the time.
Now, again, that 1% of the time, let's say you are 100% sober. There's not alcohol, marijuana, Adderall, prescription medication.
Zero.
You're cocaine.
right.
You know that for at least the
Keep
last...
going.
Yeah.
Keep going. Like, let's get a
because
list out here.
everybody's like, Zach,
we got
well,
crack.
you
I'm
didn't
seeing
mention
crack
this, you didn't
now,
mention
crystal.
this drug. But if you know 100% that there is absolutely nothing in your system for at least the last 2 days, then great, go do all the field sobriety tests. Like,
dance right through 'em.
Have a day,
Right.
Again, great.
You could get some music
They're probably
going on.
still going to arrest you.
Right,
Guess what?
But you're not going to get a DUI.
They're probably going to arrest you and take you to the station and draw your blood anyways, because even though, they asked you to get out of the car for a reason. They think there's something wrong. So there is something that you might, unfortunately, have like a speech impediment. You might be, unfortunately, maybe disabled, a little delayed. And the officer is going to think that's because of a drug.
Right.
And that's why they asked you out of the car. And you could say that you have this disability, this, life problem that you've been dealing with your whole entire life.
And they've heard quite a few things.
The whole nine, you could still, again, be 100% sober, and they can take you out of the car. You could do all the field sobriety tests. They can still arrest you, and they can still take you to the station and draw your blood. And then they will basically say something along the lines of, hey, by the way, I'm now just going to let you go. No ticket. See if something comes in the mail. And guess what? If something is in your blood, you are going to then get summoned.
Something will come in your mail.
And
you better damn well make sure they have your address, because otherwise you're going to have a warrant.
Then you get a warrant. But if there's nothing in your blood, well, guess what? They, of course, then don't charge you. And the police basically just behind the scenes kind of go, oh, yeah, there was nothing. And I arrested this person without probable cause. And nothing was in the blood, unfortunately. And, of course, they try and sweep it under the rug, which is all good and dandy, because you now don't have a court date. You're not technically facing charges, but now you actually have a criminal arrest record.
Right.
And of course, they towed your car. You got to pay for your car to get back out of tow.
It's kind of a pain in the butt.
And they don't write you an apology letter. They don't ever say they're sorry. They don't ever,
You haven't ever gotten an apology letter,
they
man?
never rolled out the red carpet, letting you out, going, hey, sorry.
That makes me feel a little better, because I haven't either, so carry on.
So again, it's like, you can't go and sue the police for that.
No.
I mean, unless you kind of cross over a certain line of the police really abuse their power. But
the problem is finding the tool to go and sue the police for you. You're going to be paying a gajillion dollars to get nothing back, really.
Immunity on
Pretty
that.
much.
And again, the officer is going to be like, well, look, these are the signs and symptoms that I thought I saw.
Right.
Ta-da, there's probable cause.
Right.
And the fact that
they're
nothing was
absolved.
in your system that means, congratulations, you're not charged with a crime. It doesn't mean you get to go and sue the police.
So what can they do about their arrest record?
Well, seal it, baby.
That's what I'm talking about.
Seal that shit.
Clean it up.
Oh my God.
Isn't it great?
I love it. Arizona passed that law in 2023.
It's great.
And so it's been, years plus now. Amazing. It's still to this day.
We
I
talked
think the
about it a
best
while
ones.
back, and it's like right after it happened.
yeah.
And man, you were giddy about it then, and I'm still giddy about it now. I mean, you fired me up
It
on
tickles
it.
my fancy. It's currently December right now. I don't know. I know what it is. I have a feeling what it is. We are getting so many approved right now. It's like insane. Because for months and months we were like waiting and waiting and
Right.
like calling the
It's
judges and we're like
machine
we're like
now.
judges, approve it,
Right.
like, or let us know that you even got the damn thing.
Right.
And these judges, it's like the last thing on their priority list, right?
Right.
They don't care. They got trials to deal with.
Why do you
and
think
real
they're doing it
cases.
quicker now?
Because guess what? It's the holiday season, so there's no trials.
Oh, they got some time.
And they got some extra time on their hands.
Okay, that's why we're getting them back fast.
And that's why we're getting these stacks of them going, oh, hey, by the way, the judge finally got to these, so here's, 50 of them approved. And we're like, well, thank you. We've been waiting.
Now I have 50 phone calls to make, but they're fun ones to make,
they're
though.
Great ones.
They're great ones to make. It's like, hey, you're clean.
Yeah.
So those that enjoy themselves, the reefer, the mota, the Ganya, the weed, the what else can we call it? People,
the flower,
the leaf. Okay, those that enjoy that in any one of its forms, beware. So some years ago, and I think I told you this story, and I might not have. I don't know, because I talk about this, but I don't know with whom. Years ago, when it became medicinal, so we're climbing back into 08.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking I'm brilliant.
10 plus.
I'm brilliant. I'm thinking, right? I'm going to go do seminars at the dispensary where you could go get your card with usually like a chiropractor, whomever. And so
doctor recommendation.
Right. That's your doctor recommendation. And you can go get your card. And then the dispensaries they would invite me to come and give seminars, and and I had like 50, 60, 70 folks there. I'm like, this is awesome. And I'm starting to fill up, bigger rooms and bigger rooms and bigger rooms. And I figured I'm going to get every weed case there is. It's going to be so great. So great. Apache Junction was one of my places I'd go to. I'd had about 5 or 6 dispensaries where I'd go. So about every Saturday when he was just a little guy, I'd be doing, because you were born in what, 3? So, yeah. So I was going, and I never got one case out of any of that. Not one case. And I'm telling you, I was charming.
Your legal advice is too good.
I know. I started sandbagging some. No, I really didn't. But what I really found out is I love the fact that in retrospect, and I did that for a couple of years, and I would still be doing it if they would invite me, but now
it's different, yeah.
Now the world's a little bit different.
It's changed, and ever since COVID, in-person stuff is
the world is a little bit different now. I would still be doing it. I loved it. But these are people that wanted to do it right.
Yeah.
That marijuana was a replacement for something else that they felt strongly that marijuana was a better fit for them. And so I would say, okay. And my advice was kind of different bit.
Big Farm didn't like you.
No, not much. My advice was a little bit different. I'm like, look, if you smoke it, you smell like it, period. So no matter what, after you smoke it, the best way to do it would be do it at home and right before bed or a little bit before bed to where you have no plans of exiting or leaving. That's the most safe way to do or ingest marijuana. And I would say the same thing to somebody that was going to drink alcohol as well. I mean, it's just plan on just, and if that's not possible, know that you're going from point A to point B to C to have a way to get there. Whether it be a taxi, back then there was no Uber. Whether it be a friend, a designated driver, whatever the case might be, your husband, your wife, so on, or your significant other. So, okay, there was that. And then I'd say, and then then the next day, your blood is still going to have this in you. You're always going to have this in you. So you're going to not want to have the same outfit on that you had the night before. You don't want to wear your cleanest dirty shirt. You want to make sure that your tags and your license are all dialed in. You've got the lights.
The lights work.
Lights work on that license plate piece. Your tail lights are all working, and you want to make sure that you're driving fair, and you don't ever have your medication, in this case marijuana, with you. Yeah. It's never transported unless it's and it's never out of its box from the dispensary to your home where you keep it in one spot. It's not in your dadgum rig ever, okay? Now, you don't want to have a Cheech and Chong sign on, bumper sticker or a leaf thing on your window. You don't want to have, lowrider. I like lowriders. They're pretty cool, but maybe not. I don't know. But don't give anybody any reason to pull you over. I never got one case out of these things.
Yeah, and it makes sense, though, too, because, again, a lot of the advice we give, and part of why we do this, is preventative, right? It's educational. We don't want people to get in trouble. I was at a prosecutor's office yesterday doing a trial, and the prosecutor was like, Zach, you should be more in favor of like extra crimes because that's more clients, more business for you. And I was like, look, I became a lawyer to do this because of my past and what happened to me. I was wrongfully accused, had to represent myself at a trial, all of this. But I will happily go and be an insurance lawyer, a family law lawyer, a personal injury, if you guys never arrested the wrong people ever again, you never abused the Constitution, you gave fair plea deals every single time, you never, tricked judges into you guys created the job for me, not these laws.
It's not the people. It's you guys are creating the work for us. Because
our job should be obsolete. Right, if you just followed the Constitution, you didn't, ever arrest somebody that you shouldn't, and all of this stuff that happens every single day, unfortunately, right? The police have a tough job. I'm not saying it's easy or anything. But then the prosecutor's supposed to kick the shit out that shouldn't be there, but the prosecutors don't. And then the judge is supposed to be like the final line of defense against the prosecutor who didn't kick it out, and the judge is supposed to then kick it out, and the judge doesn't.
How often do we see that?
And it doesn't happen. And so then that's why we have to
work our
a job.
Off, right? And
that's
we
why
work
we
our
have to
can
come
off.
in here. And yeah, sure, we're in the Constitution now. Everybody has the right to defense attorney certain crimes and all of this. But yeah, anyways, I mean, the legal advice you're giving is and was great back then, especially with medical marijuana. And now a lot of it's changed, right? Especially since it's recreational, since
but I still give the same advice.
Passed. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be asking for attention ever, right? You need to be a smart criminal. Like, don't commit multiple crimes at the same time. I mean, this is the lovely advice that I give of, hey, look, drinking and driving is never a good idea, but even though I've told you this 100 times, even though you hear it on every commercial, you're going to still do it. But so how about while you are drinking and driving, you're not speeding? How about while you're drinking and driving, you're actually paying attention to the road and not texting? How about while you're drinking and driving, you turn the radio down, you tell your backseat passengers to close the windows, stop throwing stuff out of the car, be
all
smart
these things
about
are really
this.
good ideas. I'm gonna write these down.
Be smart about it, and you're not gonna find yourself in trouble more than likely. Obviously, yeah, it's not good, but look, people are gonna do it. It's not like DUIs aren't going away tomorrow until maybe self-driving cars are really the norm, and then people just aren't driving.
When's the last time you heard that they took a bump and they drive better, or they took a hit and they drive better? I love that one. It's just like,
I hear that all the time. I actually finished court this morning with this poor girl. She's like 20. I call her a girl because she's an adult. She acted like a little child. And her DUI
it's
today.
It's going to be good, I could tell.
Her DUI was for alcohol. And that's fine. Look, she learned her lesson. And she's like, yes, it was one of my first few times drinking. I was just going up the road. I thought I was fine. And for the most part, I think she was fine. I think the officer just got lucky, and she was at the wrong place, wrong time. She pulled into a gas station. The officer happened to be there, and they said she didn't park right, and she ran a stop sign, which I was like, no, it was a whole made up thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, she now is telling me, she's like, yeah, Zach, but I like smoking every day, marijuana. And I'm like, well, hey, guess what? That's illegal too for a few different reasons. Number one, you're not 21 yet, so it's technically a petty crime. You shouldn't be smoking marijuana.
Get it back out.
It's a petty crime. It's a crime period, right? Is the punishment for smoking marijuana under 21 the end of the world? No, it's not. But guess what is a DUI? Guess what's worse than one DUI? Two DUIs. And this is the part where I had to really, grab her by the shoulders, proverbially, and be like, hey, look, take this seriously. She's a little immature, and she's like, yeah, I'm not going to drink and drive again. And I'm like, okay, but you're smoking every day.
Right. You're going to smoke and drive.
And their marijuana is going to be in your system. And I guarantee that you maybe are not a bad driver or whatever it is. Somehow you triggered the police to key in on you in this situation. That is probably going to happen again in the future, maybe because you're a bad driver, maybe because of whatever you look like, unfortunately. The police are going to key in on you. And the moment they key in on you, they just have to pull you over for any reasonable suspicion standard, which is pretty much anything under the sun.
Right.
And then they're going to be like, great, I now smell marijuana. They find a vape. They're not by law going to then use that presumably as that suspicion, but they're going to be like, hey, I want to be your friend. Do you smoke? How often do you smoke? What do you like? And they're just going to then get you to accidentally confess.
I like blueberry yum yum. And
yeah, and then you're going to get out of the car. And if you don't do all these field sobriety tests, fantastic. But if you do them, they're going to try and use them against you. And now you're facing a second DUI, where again, you're looking now at weeks of jail. And then you're going to be like, your argument to me is going to be like, well, Zach, I learned not to drink and drive, but I didn't know I couldn't smoke and drive. And it's like, oh my God, like it's nothing and drive. It's no little bumps.
It's no bumps. No little bumps.
I had a little, look, I only inhaled once.
That's right. You can't go with the tricky dick. You gotta not be doing that.
You can't do it. And your past DUI now counts for all future DUIs, not just the alcohol.
And you get a third one, which now you can see how easy it is to get there. It's so easy
to get there, yeah.
And then you just cross that finish line, and now you're prison bound.
Felony mandatory,
and we don't want to see that either. I mean, now that we can work them like misdemeanors, that's great and all, but you're still got prison potential right there.
Yeah.
And I mean, it used to be 2.5 period, done deal. Now we can do a little bit, but look, yeah, you're right. We don't want more work. We're trying to teach prevention. We're trying to be pillars of the community and be a little bit funny about it. But I love the fact that so many, and Paige was pointed out to me, so many of our comments were these two, guys that never knew, it's just hilarious.
They probably never done a day in their life,
right.
Yeah.
What do you think we see every day, and what do you think we hear every day? We probably hear it more than the police do.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, okay, so you had a couple dozen.
Or a couple, period. Why are you telling that to the police?
Right.
Stop telling that to the police.
Right.
Tell that to us. But then they come to us and they're like, tell us nothing. And I'm like, and I get the video of the body cam. I'm like, oh my God, you told the officer like
way more than
night.
You told me.
Yeah, you told them your whole night, but you wouldn't tell me anything.
I went in. I was having a good time with this chick. I had 4 beers with her, and then this other one came in. And, went on over there and I had 7 with her.
We did 3 lines, but that was like 6 hours ago. I'm good. Like,
right.
Like,
and you told me they pulled you over and they profiled you and you never told me any of that stuff.
Yeah.
The body cam is intriguing. Can you watch it with me? Watch it with me. Is this
like
really you? Because you guys look very similar.
And then they tell me, they're like, Zach, I really felt coerced. And I'm like, it looks like you're an open book here.
Yeah.
They just asked you what you were doing that night. And you tell them where you're coming from, where you're going, how much you drank, how you thought you were good. And
you were memorable to these people. They were like, that was a good one. I like that guy. I mean, they do like him too. It's kind of funny. Yeah. Like the cops are like, I kind of like that dude.
Look, and look, they think the police are going to go easy on them, which to the police, you went easy. You made their paperwork easy.
You sure did. You filled it right on out for them.
They checked every box.
Why did you just not grab the pen and just start on in?
Look, and I speak from experience. When I got my DUI at 19, oh my God, I told the officer everything. I didn't know any better. I did the field sobriety test.
Fast man, pull up a seat. Pull up a seat. Okay,
I
here we
just
go.
didn't know any better.
Right.
But granted, like social media was barely a thing back then, right? We still had MySpace back then. And I mean, I was 19 then. I'm 32 now.
So old.
Yeah, I'm still a young spry chicken, I get told. Which is great. I love that.
I get told.
I get told. I would wake up in the morning.
This
and don't feel
ages
that way.
you. This industry will age you quickly. Although you're holding it well. It's the Latino blood in you.
Yeah.
It is. It's that Latino.
Micheladas.
You know what? It really is. It's that Latino German mix there that is really holding you together well.
But again, we went to law school and we learned this because we see our clients do this every day. And look, that's where, I have the empathy to say, hey, look, you made the mistake. It's okay. We're going to help you through this, and we're going to help minimize this to the prosecutor who probably thinks you're the worst person in the world, right?
Right.
And they do that, right? They think, and the crazy part is, especially when it comes to alcohol, when it comes to THC, and you go and you drive, you don't actually know how much is in your system, right? You have to be like, I know my body more than anybody else, right? Mm-hmm. My body, my right.
Right.
And you have to be like, I think I'm good. But it's not like you blew into a breathalyzer beforehand and said, oh, shit, I'm at the extreme level. I think I'm still good. It's like, no, you go in blind to driving,
right.
Not proverbially blind, in what's in your system. You know there's something in your system, but you think you're good to drive. And then, of course, the officer, arrests you, does all that stuff. The prosecutor then gets to be the Monday quarterback and be like, whoa, well, look, I got the blood results. You should have known that was in your system because look at this level. It's like,
right.
Well, we didn't know that was in our system when
right.
we went and drove. We thought we were good. Like,
right.
We thought we could have walked a straight line. We thought all this stuff, and
well, I figure if you got to think about it, you probably shouldn't be driving.
That's a great rule of
thumb.
If
you got to think about it, you shouldn't be driving. Get an Uber. They're cheaper nowadays. Get a friend that's sober. Don't find your least impaired
Right.
designated driver. That doesn't work. You're least drunk driver.
Yeah, I stopped drinking 30 minutes ago. He took his last, joint hit an hour ago, and
Right.
this one was an hour and a half ago. So he's got to be the
Eeny,
most
meeny,
sober.
miny.
It's like that's not.
You don't
Oh
want to
my
be
God,
playing that Russian roulette.
Take the Uber, Lyft these days. Take the Waymo. I mean, Jesus, the Waymos are there everywhere. Like do something else there. And I know it's not.
I'm a
super
big fan of
cheap, but
Chevrolet legs. I'm just walking off. Just start walking.
It's 100 degrees out
I
here.
understand,
Come on.
but you know what? You know what the firefighters do? They're going to kill me for saying this. But the firefighters, they ride a bike.
Yeah.
And you realize that is a DUI?
Yeah.
Technically, that's a DUI on a bicycle. Yes, it is.
I love this argument because I have never had to represent a DUI on a bicycle. I don't.
That's
think
why
it's a
they
thing.
do a bicycle.
It's not a real thing. I love this argument because, and the internet loves this argument, especially in Arizona, right?
I like getting them going.
Our laws say it's not a DUI. It's not a DUI, and can it technically be a DUI? Can it legally, right? And that's a different question of is it actually?
Right.
Because I mean, Jesus Christ, the law book, I wish I brought it this big,
It's up there. We get it.
basically says that anything is a crime if
Right.
the prosecutor wants to charge you with it.
Exactly.
Right?
Show me the man, I'll show you the crime.
There is a way to basically make anything a crime. And this whole
Absolutely.
bicycle one is more or less a fallacy because no prosecutor in their right mind is going to charge you under, the 28 section statute law, which is driving offenses.
Which is why the
and it's
firefighters
driving
ride a bicycle.
motor vehicle. It's a motor vehicle.
But
and it's
now,
meant to be.
Zach, what say you now that these here bicycles have
they're
little
electric.
motors on them now?
But then you got to define, is this a gas motor,
Right,
gas-propelled motor, or is this
right.
electric motor? And I love this part, too, because this is where things get spicy.
They're getting spicy.
This is what, they teach you at law school, right? At law school, year 1, 2, and 3, they basically say, look, you're going to be a shitty-ass lawyer if you only learn the surface-level laws. So
That's the technical term.
That is what the professor, said.
It is.
But if you then just stop your analysis at this is what the law says, well then great, you're wrong. And
Right.
here's why, because there's level number 2. And then guess what? There's a whole set of level number 2 laws, but then you got to take the analysis one step further and go
Right.
step 3. And then it just keeps going. And this is why the law school test and the bar exam is so hard, and why the LSAT is so hard, and why it's a logic
Right.
game, because it is a game. And,
They
and
want you
unfortunately,
digging. They want you digging,
Everything
digging,
is a
digging.
game here in the legal industry.
Right.
Spoiler, peek under the hood or behind the curtain, Oz. It's all a game. It's all a setup. It's all a rule book and what laws play into this. And the prosecutor's basically the game master of which game do I want to play with
Right.
these people. And if you want any chance at playing the game, you have to hire your own private lawyer to play that game
Right.
with you.
You have to pay to play.
So you have an equal chance
Right.
at beating the prosecutors playing the game. And of course, the judge is basically the referee. Is the game being played right or wrong?
But does the judge,
And-
where does the judge lean? And
Yeah,
in my
I mean-
experience, the judge leans very heavily towards the state. However,
and look, historically, most judges were previously prosecutors
Right.
as well. And so there may be a little bit of unconscious bias and all of that plays into it, but the judge is supposed to be neutral. Anyways, when it comes to the DUIs on things like bicycles, whether gas, whether electric, yes, they can get in there. Now, it's much easier to get the gas bicycle, strangely, than the electric bicycle.
Right.
There's a whole subsection set of
I
laws
just had
that
one out
say
of
this.
Gilbert, man.
And then it's like,
oh,
how
man.
fast does the bike go? Is the maximum speed actually 26 miles an hour?
Yep.
Because we're going to call the threshold 26. And then, but if it's 27 and it's just a whole.
So
can
my
of,
guy got kind of hosed because he tweaked the bike, the electric bike,
Yeah.
to where it would go 50.
Ah,
Right.
yeah.
And so they found out that because they take the bike and they found out this sucker was tweaked or modified or whatever you want to call it. And it's like,
And
all
they
right.
hit him. They slapped him with a DUI on it. Yeah,
They did.
Yeah, they did.
They did.
How did it? Did they cite it under 28 1380 1A1?
it was. And that was an interesting argument. We ended up getting it dismissed.
Yeah.
Again,
they're not usually even charged in the first place.
Right. It took for damn ever.
Yeah.
And BG rolled that one, and he got it dismissed. And again, no apology, no this,
Yeah,
no that,
there's no years of this and give up
he
the
got his
bike.
bike back.
Oh, yeah, he got
that was
the bike.
nice.
There's a
He
win.
got his bike back.
Yeah.
His modified bike.
Yeah.
Those suckers can really motor.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting day and age we're in. And I just wanted to teach everybody about the leafy substance, the marijuana that everyone knows so much about, and they're all clinicians, and everybody knows that we don't know anything about this. Impairment is impairment. If it's a Tylenol that impairs you, if it's prescription medication, whatever it might be, stop with the pride about your Ganya. Start lowering that down, because if you're hitting that thing every day, you're probably never legal to drive.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of folks like that gal this morning that you proverbial wanted to shake. There's a lot of folks that are hitting that a lot too often during the day to where they're not legal to be driving. And so let's just take a step back, take a look at your habits. Don't play so loose and fast with your freedom and your driver's license and your life and don't need us, right? You don't want to need us.
Yeah,
that would be, you don't want to need Future First. You don't want to need the Arizona firm. You don't want to need us, and we're here when you do. But and we're not judging. We'll walk right through it with you because it's what we do. And I'm a big fan of the second chances. That's what made me attracted to your firm is the name itself. We've had that conversation. I love Future First. It's just the way to look at things. But Zach, thanks for gracing us with your incredible wisdom, some colorful language,
of course,
and some. we get to know a little bit more about your background and AJ a little bit. I'd like getting to know a little bit more about you every time. Last time I got dogs and a kid was almost here. Now you've moved. Yeah, you've got a whole new. You're getting a little closer to home. You're almost straight out of not Compton, but a trailer.
Yeah. Upgraded. We're in the lots now.
I love it. you got a lot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to downgrade back to a trailer. I really kind of go, a trailer life doesn't look too bad. I mean, they take care of the roadways and all that stuff. I mean, some of them, those trailer parks, kind of nice looking.
Hey, they've come a long way these days too.
They really have.
But yeah, I'm always excited to do this, right? You have great energy. I'm always excited when we get all these sealing records approved and our clients are, jumping for joy. It's amazing, right? And especially for us in the criminal world, right? We get cases dismissed. We get amazing plea deals, save people from jail. Like those are all good wins. But the reality is it's still hard, right? Yeah. It's still impactful. And as criminal lawyers, we do lose a lot, right? In theory, if the police did everything right, the prosecutor did everything right, the judge does everything right.
It's the degree of loss.
Then we're just going to try and minimize as much as we can there. But, when it comes to like these sealing records and...
That's the happiest times.
It's amazing. Yeah. Like I feel so good about all these people. And again, I did it for myself, for my own crimes first and stuff. So that way I was like, yeah, look, this actually works. Like I used to show people that hired at my firm, that I hired at the firm, paralegals, legal assistants, marketing attorneys, all of that. I give them my police report and I say, hey, what did I do wrong? And they're like, oh, by the way, Zach, you're an open book. But then I'd show them my criminal record and I'd be like, hey, look, this is it, right? And so this is what we are trying to fight for other people at our firm. So that way they don't have to have this. Right. And now it's kind of funny because now I went and sealed it all and
you can't show them anymore. I can't
really show them anymore. I'm like, hey, look, it's off their website. Me. Like it was there. I know
I got this tattoo when I was in jail.
When I was in jail, it was the worst.
Yeah. It's awesome. Well, I don't have that fun story to share with any of my employees, but I've seen enough of them, and I understand that these folks really. It's fun to fight as the underdog. We always are the underdog, and I enjoy that. And then people might find that weird, but I also want to get. And I found a kindred spirit in you. I want to get as much information out there as possible to where they can avoid this. Yeah. Best they can, or if they find themselves in it, make the crap sandwich as lovely as possible. Yeah. Because it's going to be a sucky minute, but let's not make it worse. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so...
Yeah, we call it a speed bump. We're like, hey, look, this is going to be either a big speed bump or a little speed bump. We're going to try and make it a little one, get you over it, like that, and then move on with the rest of your life. It's not a roadblock. It's not like you got to turn your whole life around and start all over.
Let's get it in the rearview mirror.
Let's just get through this, take it slow.
And now you can seal it when you're said done, and it's like... You can now be a pharmacist again. Yeah. I mean, are you kidding me? How cool that is? Or get your real estate license.
Yeah. I'm so excited about it, and I hope actually a handful of judges at Phoenix City Court, in particular, look at this and realize that like sealing records is so beneficial for people. it helps remove these hurdles. It doesn't guarantee you a job. It doesn't, blah, blah, blah. It's not like,
but it shows someone's trying like crazy to put something behind them.
And there's some judges, and this is kind of across the board. I didn't mean to just highlight, one or two.
That was a good highlight.
But there's a handful of judges. It's not that simple, right? Yeah. As much as sealing records looks simple, supposed to be simple. I mean, Jesus.
No, it's not.
Phoenix's court, their application's one page. It's amazing. Right. But guess what? Every time you submit just that one page and nothing else, they're denying them.
Right.
So that's why you have to. So we got to add all this extra.
Right. And then you have to wait.
Oh my god.
That's what they don't tell you is if you get denied for a seal, you have to wait a specific time before you can reapply. Yeah. And so you don't want to screw that up.
Yeah. Oh, totally. You want 3 years. You had
to wait 3 years.
So you waited 3 years to be eligible, and then you got denied because something was done slightly wrong.
You better dang well make sure that you're in the crosshairs and you're going to hit what you're hitting. Yeah, you need to hire somebody for something that important.
For that serious. Absolutely. And again, I would love to say it's a guarantee, but it's also not a guarantee. Oh my God. Like we had a quick story. We had a dismissed case. This happened 4 years ago. This guy got arrested or something for some situation. Before he even made it to court, they dismissed this case.
Okay.
Amazing. Love it. He's like, by the way, Zach, I'm trying to, get a job and all of this.
And this is coming up.
And so I'd like to get it sealed. So we said, yeah, look, hey, man, we're going to get this sealed for you. No big deal. It was dismissed. No big deal. And we filed this application and all of that. And the judge denied it. And we were like, wait a second, what the heck? Number one, the judge in the order checked that, just went down the list and I think had her eyes closed and just literally checked every box. And one of the boxes that it checked said this person's eligible and this person, should have it sealed because they're, it's in the public interest. But then at the very bottom, the judge denied it and then specifically wrote in not in the public interest, which is the only reason a judge is allowed to deny something as long as it's eligible.
Not in the public interest, right?
And I was like, wait a second. Number one, it's contradictory. You can't say it's in the public interest, but then say it's not in the public interest. Number two, it's a dismissed case. Like, how in the world could that ever be not in the public interest to get sealed? A dismissed case means somebody is still innocent until proven guilty.
What'd you do?
So, this is a secret. But we filed a
motion to reconsider.
And we called them every week because they refused to give us a hearing on this. So we called them every week, and we basically were the squeaky wheel until I demanded this hearing. I said, I want to hear from this judge why this is against the public interest. Mm-hmm. And then I also went and I filed an angry motion. Ooh, a lovely angry motion.
Yeah, angry motions are fun.
I'm a very, very fun person. Smart, fun, not always angry.
But you got the gear.
Oh, I was motivated because I was like, this is not justice. Like the justice system said dismiss this case. The new law just got created saying we need to be able to seal all that shit that's still out there for people to see, especially dismissed cases. Like there's zero waiting period. The law says seal it. Yeah. And here's a judge who goes, ooh, in all my high and mighty power, I'm going to deny it because I feel like it and public interest, whatever that means. And so I wrote out this huge motion that basically said it's fundamentally a due process violation to deny this person for a dismissed case.
You went deep on this.
I went real deep because I was like, I am winning this. No way I'm losing this kind of argument here. Because logically it makes sense. Well, if this person knew that they had to fight this entire time to never get their record sealed, well then why would we ever agree to dismiss a case? No, let's have a trial and let's be found not guilty. And now this person, since the case was dismissed, they lose their due process right to have a trial because the prosecutor controls dismissing the case.
I'm completely rooting for you right now.
My gavel is dropped
for you.
So anyways, and I listed out a bunch of things that were very well written and very much passionately said that, this is ultimately not what the law intended.
She belongs in the circus and you give up the practice of
and that there's nothing else that we need to prove essentially in this situation. Again, whole nine. We squeaky wheeled, called for weeks and weeks and weeks, a month or two. I think it was like 3 months later, after the denial, we finally got a hearing for, again, another month or two down the road. And we tell the client, hey, look, keep going to your current job. I'm going to handle this because I'm about to go off on this judge here. And this judge pulls up the file and all this and he goes, yeah, counsel, I denied this. I don't think it's in the public interest. And I'm like, again, you got my motion. Tell me how this is not a due process violation. He has the right to contest anything, but he's no longer allowed to contest this since it was dismissed. And then the judge goes, well, I don't even know what the underlying issue was. And I'm like, okay, so let me get this straight. You denied something because you just didn't even know about it? Well, great. There's a prosecutor right here. Prosecutor, you tell us what initially even happened here. And basically, she said something happened. And that basically the prosecutor, bless her soul, was like, yeah, we should not have charged this person with a crime. And so that's why when we did, before he even showed up to court, we dismissed it. And they just straight up wrote, we dismissed this. Like,
right.
They didn't even list like a reason. They were just like, just dismiss this.
Right.
Like, we messed up kind of thing. The judge hearing that was also like, well, how do I know that this person's like, rehabilitated and all of this stuff? And I was just like, Judge, Jesus Christ, that is not even a consideration here.
Did you use Jesus Christ
I didn't throw JC's name down, but
that would have been really cool story, though.
But I think I said a few flowery words to the judge that she was receptive to, because I think she could read my emotion of like, you were just looking for the next reason to be right, is all the judge was trying to do, right? The judge didn't want to say that she was wrong or he was wrong, whatever judge it was, to deny my application.
We've gone with she too many times this time to not know
and so,
that this one happened to be a she, but that doesn't narrow it down.
And then here's an age range and here's a hairstyle. I'm just kidding.
There you go. I'm on it.
The robe was black.
Got it. Well.
And so basically she just kept going down this rabbit hole of, well, we don't know this and we don't know this. And she just kept trying to like schedule a new court date for us. And Zach, go get all this information. I was like, no, we are solving this right here, right now.
Yeah, you've got prosecutor here.
Like
I'm
we
here.
are all here.
We're all here.
The whole shebang. And eventually the judge gets to this point of, Zach, I just need to know what your client is why your client can't be here right now. Which again, I made it clear to her that I told the client not to show up. This is a sealing record on a dismissed case. I'm having a 20+ minute oral argument with the judge in front of a whole courtroom over sealing a dismissed, like in felony court for sentencings, my sentencing like mitigation motions. They aren't even
like 7 minutes.
They aren't even 20 minutes.
And that's when you got people speeching.
And I can convince a judge to go from 15 years of jail down to 5 years of jail in under 20 minutes, like easy piece of cake. And yet this judge didn't want to seal a dismissed case with over 20 minutes of oral argument. I say, Judge, we're going to go in a 5-minute recess. I'm calling my client. I call him. I go, hey, remind me really quick. What's your job? What's your religion? What's your family life? What is this, this, and this? And I go back in there. It gives me all of this information. Because, again, when we hired him, we only asked what was this and this.
Right.
And I was like, I want every extra piece of ammo.
Right.
I go in there and I tell the judge, and I go, this, and this, and this, and this. And then she goes, great, I can tell he's, a good person and this is in the public interest. And I'm like, thank you, Judge, for approving this. I appreciate it. Pat yourself on the back and let's not deny these in the future. And then I kind of did this. I said, Judge, how in the future would I ever know to give you all of this information that you arbitrarily need, apparently, because it's not required by law to know all these things that you just asked for. All you need to know is the case was dismissed. How was I supposed to know to give you all of this stuff proactively? Because quite frankly, your form here, it don't ask for any of that. It doesn't require any of that. There ain't a spot for any of that. And how are we going to ever go back and kind of litigate this stuff if you just go in and deny it? You don't even give us a hearing in the first place. And she said, you're going to have to deal with it. Because I am the judge, and that's what I want.
Justice is blind.
That is how this works. In
and
2024,
stupid.
This judge, she threw the, I've been a lawyer for 30 years. And I go, great, you've been a lawyer longer than I've been alive. That might be the problem.
That may very well be the brain damage right there.
And I was just like,
that explains it.
Yeah.
There's the brain damage.
I was just like, do you just not believe in this law? You don't think people should have their records sealed? Like,
Look, I find that they
crazy.
check their common sense at the door too often. And judges, prosecutors, even a lot of defense attorneys as well, they just check their common sense at the door. Everything that you provided literally wasn't necessary whatsoever. Common sense would say this thing was dismissed for a reason. So that would be what should drive the bus. But
and
again,
if you
that's
needed that
commonsensical.
reason, ask for that reason before you deny
Respond it back. Just kick it back and say, would like to know the reason, whatever. Enumerate something. Lift a finger. But there again, they don't have to, so they can arbitrarily do these things. I love that you're passionate about something that happened a handful of years ago and you're ranting and raving. It's been nice to get these good results that we've been getting, that you've been getting and we've been getting. It's really fun to call these folks saying, hey, got a clean record, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't even have to say that they've ever been arrested anymore. I mean, it's a really cool thing is these SEALs are amazing. So let's just keep on tackling this one step in front of the other. Now let's do this again.
Great. Dan, let's do it.
Next time you're here, you're probably going to be in Gilbert with me.
That's probably true.